Chapter 16. Shut up. "Oh, Malcolm," a woman said, "this is just gorgeous." "Isn't it?" another agreed. "Isn't it just divine?" There were probably 15 at the table, and Thomas watched most of them warily. The food was very good, but hammering a uterus for long enough would eventually render it edible. Nevertheless, it didn't require their chorus of ingratiating pomposity. If it went on much longer, Thomas suspected he'd vomit, and he didn't know how he'd convey himself as a secret agent with regurgitated uterus down his front. "Ah, but it is good," another remarked. "I mean, utterly splendid. It's the sort of food one might consider dying for." Malcolm raised his glass and eyebrows, taking in the compliments as though he were absorbent. "Did you make this, Malcolm?" another asked, bordering on ecstatic. "Would you believe me if I said yes?" "Of course." "Then no." Some laughter. "Does that mean you did?" "Perhaps." More laughter. "So did you make this or not?" "I did, as it happens. 2 years ago I was on assignment in Japan, Kyoto, where I learnt the art of hoxitomora, a tradition of braising 3-month yearling over an unbelievably hot pan." "I wouldn't have thought there was room," Thomas said. Everyone looked at him. "In a pan, for a cow, even a dead one." "It is cut up first." "Oh, how wonderful." "Are you a vegetarian, Thomas?" "No, but I'm certain the cow was." There was some laughter. "So how was this made?" the woman asked. "Is it sautéed, perhaps?" "In a manner of speaking," Malcolm said. "I have an excellent butcher who's trained in the art. I only found him recently. He's from Kyoto. It's quite an art." "Is it? Did he frame the bits left over?" asked Thomas. Some more laughter. "Nothing's left over. That's the beauty of hoxitomora." "This entree being an example?" The laughter was less this time, and struggled with its own identity. "The entree was Fergione mushroom, and its sauce made out of the contents of spleen, as I understand it." "Ah, then that explains a great deal." "What does it explain exactly, Thomas?" "Well, the taste for a start." There was no laughter this time, which Thomas was grateful for, as it offered a clue to something he was generally clueless about. "It had a nutty flavour," he said, in an attempt at reprieve. "Quite wonderful, very exotic, and a particularly nice texture. You are fortunate to have such expertise on hand, Malcolm. Fortunate indeed to understand such culinary delights." There were murmurs of agreement, which he was encouraged by. "Do you have much in the way of culinary experience?" Malcolm asked. "Not at all. I've heated some beans in a tin once, but that's the extent of it." "You've heated some beans in a tin, have you? Well, I hope this evening has whetted your appetite for things a little more adventurous." Some laughter made a comeback. "I've only done it once, mind you." "I'm sorry?" "Heated beans in a tin. I've only done it once." "Indeed?" "Yes, I'm not very good in the kitchen, you see, and I've never quite got the hang of a tin opener." "Yes, well, they are devastatingly complex pieces of engineering. So I boiled it." "I'm sorry?" "I boiled it." "The tin opener?" "No, the beans." "I see. While they were still in the tin?" "Yes." While Malcolm stared, the guests seemed riveted, or confused, or scared. "And so what happened?" Thomas shrugged. "Not a lot. They got very hot. I think I left them for something interesting on television." "The beans were outside the tin?" a woman asked, attempting to follow, while wondering how long she might have to try. "No, they were still in the tin." "Oh, so how did you eat them?" "I didn't." Some more stares before Malcolm asked, "So, Thomas, what has this got to do with anything?" "Oh, it's just my contribution to our foray into the culinary wilderness." "I see." "I like your apartment," said Thomas. "Do you?" "Yes, it's very nice. I like its absence of walls in particular." "Right." "I'm left wondering what keeps the ceiling up, actually." "Are you indeed?" "Yes." Thomas took a sip of something expensive, although I must say it's not the best design if someone's wanting to kill you. The silence that followed was so uncomfortable it needed 2 aspirin and a bandage. Malcolm took his glass and swirled its contents thoughtfully. And why would anyone want to kill me, Thomas? Oh, not you specifically, Thomas said. No, I was referring to me. A sip was taken. And why would anyone want to kill you, Thomas, besides the reasons you're so aptly demonstrating? I can't tell you that. Well, that's most fortunate. Malcolm put the glass down and said to his guests, Now, where were we? You were saying something about butchers, a man said. Ah, indeed, one of the best in London. I can give you his name, but I'd have to kill him almost immediately afterwards. The laughter might be best described as explosive. Is this before or after he kills the cow? Thomas asked. The laughter, not paying attention, got hit by a bus. Do you have a problem with any part of this evening in particular, Thomas? Malcolm asked. Or is it an all-encompassing criticism? It's just his sense of humour, said Janice. He's keen on cows, that's all. Keen on cows? Janice looked at Thomas, trying to find a reasonable explanation. His best friend was a cow, she said, when unable to. Everyone looked at him. Is that true? A woman asked. It depends on what you mean by best friend, Thomas said. What do you think it means? She asked, intrigued. Thomas shrugged. We went hiking together in the Balkans one summer, that's all. With a cow? A trained cow. Trained? Really? In what way? In hiking. The silence that followed could have been a second entree. A cow trained in hiking? Yes, said Thomas. He was quite good. I thought cows were female, Malcolm said. It wasn't that sort of relationship. I didn't say it was. I just find it odd you refer to your best friend in the masculine if she was, in fact, the opposite. It was a term of endearment. To contradict her sexuality. He has a great sense of humour, Janice said. Who? Him or the cow? I'm not used to these sorts of situations, Thomas said. I find them very awkward. What situations? Social ones. Sitting down, eating, talking, that sort of thing. Especially with people I don't know. Yes, well, clearly. But why make everyone else suffer too? I'm a spy and I've killed before, Thomas said. They stared at him. He's referring to the cow, Janice said. The cow? Yes, he had to kill the cow after it broke its leg, hiking. I thought it was your friend, a woman said. A man threw his napkin on the table. This is ridiculous. He turned to Malcolm. Do we have to put up with this idiot? Don't call Janice an idiot, Thomas said. I was referring to you, you pillock. What the hell are you babbling on about anyway? If you were a spy, you certainly wouldn't be admitting it at a dinner party. I said I was a spy. I didn't say I was a good one. I knew he was a spy, Damien said. They all looked at him. Being the first coherent sentence he'd uttered after a brief one regarding his inability to sit down in a coordinated manner, they indulged him. His eyes were all over the place, and not necessarily together. His tongue tried to follow, but made some gurgling noises when his throat got indignant. I told you that, didn't I? Damien slurred at Thomas. I told you you were from those spy films, James something or other, the one with the diamonds and the stupid umbrellas and all those women with legs. What are you talking about? Malcolm said. He's the spy, he said, waving a full glass at Thomas that subsequently became empty. You know, the spy, that one with the clever girls and the sexy gadgets, the one who blows things up and says something witty as though he'd just blown his nose. James Bond? Damien tried to click his fingers, but missed. That's the one? You have to be careful. He's a spy. He tried to sing the theme tune, but stopped when coughing up some uterus. They all stared at Thomas. That's right, Thomas said. I'm a spy, and I've got a gun and everything. A spy? Malcolm said. Thomas nodded, before eyeing a pot plant, lest it tried to assassinate him. Right, I see. And who do you work for, Thomas? Some blinks. I'm sorry? Who do you work for? Well, I'm actually freelance at the moment. Oh, I see. A freelance spy. How fascinating. Please, do tell us more. I can't, because I'm a spy. Of course. It's all top secret, isn't it? Some of it is, yes. All the secret bits, certainly. And this cow, Malcolm asked. The one you had to kill in the Balkans. I suppose that was on assignment? Thomas nodded, waiting for his imagination to get its act together. Tell me, Thomas, was it a spy cow? There was some sniggers around the table, the absurdity dissolving their communal discomfort. Thomas nodded, his imagination clearly at another party altogether. He doesn't like to talk about it, Janice tried. He gets flashbacks. Malcolm looked amazed. Flashbacks, indeed. Well, we can't have that now, can we? Why don't we change the subject? Janice asked. Surely there's something far more interesting to talk about. Malcolm laughed. You mean there's something more interesting than the assassination of a transgender Balkan spy cow?